With dieting then, is that ever something that you view as helpful, or is it generally something that's damaging in the long run?
I'm not a fan of short-term diets. However, I am a fan of short-term strategies. So I always think of a diet as a lifestyle approach. And then, for example, if someone's goal is to lose weight, then we might look at an entire lifestyle approach for them to sort of head towards. But if they need to lose a lot of weight, particularly at the beginning, then we might implement some extra strategies at the beginning to sort of fast track the weight loss. And then maybe over time, some of those strategies are no longer needed, but the baseline of the lifestyle that we're sort of teaching along the way is sort of continued on forever.
Would you call keto a strategy, or would you call that more of a diet?
So a ketogenic diet is essentially a very, very low carbohydrate diet. And everybody has a different sort of tolerance to carbohydrate. So someone who's quite sensitive to carbohydrate, probably someone who's younger that doesn't have diabetes, they can probably have 50 to 80 grams of carbohydrate and get into a state of nutritional ketosis, which essentially means that their body has switched over to using fat as the major source of fuel. Because generally the default state is burning carbohydrates, because if you're eating carbohydrates, your body has to burn them. But if you reduce the carbohydrates, then we can switch over to fat. But it's not for everybody. It's a type of diet that you really have to consider the person's lifestyle, the person's preferences, what do they actually like to eat. It could be the ultimate diet, but if the person that you're, suggesting it to doesn't like any of those foods, then it's not going to work, is it? So you really have to do something that the individual is going to enjoy and be able to sustain themselves.
All right, that's really helpful. So I think for the month of March, I'm going to give that a go. Is there anything that I should be tracking across the month to make sure that I'm tracking my progress well and I can see if it's working for me?
Yeah, definitely. So I love when people do little n=1 experiments. It's very fun. I think there's definitely a few things that you could track that maybe you could see a change in a short time frame of a month. Definitely energy levels. So I would suggest energy levels when you wake up, and then energy levels at 3 p.m. Because with a ketogenic diet, we do find that instead of having these dips and rises in energy, that it's a lot more stable, especially when your body is not so reliant on burning carbohydrates for fuel, and they've got a more stable source of fuel such as fat. When it comes to blood tests, because you are doing some blood tests from what I understand, there's two markers that are probably going to be really useful for you, and that's triglyceride levels and HDL levels. So triglycerides are essentially they're fat in the blood, essentially. So low triglyceride levels is correlated with a reduced risk of cardiovascular disease. And similarly, high HDL levels are correlated with a reduced risk of cardiovascular disease. And typically what happens on a ketogenic diet is you will see the triglycerides coming low and you will see the HDL increasing. And we do know that triglycerides, for example, they can go high from a result of excess carbohydrate intake or excess alcohol intake, and HDL can actually be low from a low-fat diet. So by switching those things around, you might see some really positive changes in those markers.
Yeah, I already knew from my last blood test that my good cholesterol was low, and that might be because of a low-fat diet, you're saying?
Yeah, so good cholesterol is the HDL. Some people might be watching this and thinking, oh my God, what about LDL, which is typically labeled the bad cholesterol. And what we find is that if your triglycerides are low and your HDL is high, your LDL particles are actually what we call the sort of large, fluffy LDL particles. So there's two types of LDL patterns. There's pattern A and there's pattern B. And pattern A is associated with a lower risk of heart disease, and pattern B is associated with a higher risk of heart disease. And simply by having your triglycerides lower and your HDL higher, we can predict that the pattern of your LDL is the good pattern A. So we're sort of addressing LDL as well without you having to measure it. But it's completely up to you if that's something you want to measure as well. It will come on the blood test anyway.
Okay, very cool. I've heard that you're doing a PhD as well. Is that looking into a low carb diet?
Yes. So I'm very excited. I am going to be commencing the PhD mid this year, so it's definitely coming close. There's going to be lots of things that make up the PhD, but one of the things that will be involved is a primary study investigating the use of a specific low carbohydrate diet for the management of type 1 diabetes. What I found from doing a systematic review last year was that there is not a lot of research on type 1 diabetes and the actual amount of carbohydrates that these people should eat to reduce their risk of cardiovascular disease. Like, we have insulin, which is amazing. You know, the fact that people can give themselves injections of insulin is saving their lives essentially with type 1 diabetes. So we're not looking to replace insulin. That's never going to happen. What we're looking to do is to find a dietary strategy for these people to use in conjunction with their usual care to hopefully improve their risk of cardiovascular disease, improve their quality of life, and, you know, just improve their overall health, basically.
Definitely. And considering how big of an issue type 1 diabetes is, and also cardiovascular health, I really look forward to those results and hope it makes a big difference.
Yes, I'm excited too. And you're right, cardiovascular disease is so common in people with type 1 diabetes, and so is chronic kidney disease, and so is depression as well, because it's something that these people have to manage 24/7. So, you know, it's not something you can just take a pill for in the morning and everything's going to be okay. You literally every hour, every minute of the day have to be aware of what's going on with your blood sugars.
I see a lot of clients with chronic health conditions as well, and adjusting to that and just living with it every day really can be hard and can be fatiguing after a while. All right, so if you had one takeaway message that you would want people to remember about nutrition, what would it be?
This is a difficult question, but I think my one take-home message would be to enjoy your food. And that sounds really general, but if you think about it, so let's say that you ate some ice cream on the weekend, or you had some ice cream after work, and you really enjoyed the ice cream, but for the 2 hours that followed, you felt guilty, you felt sick. Did you really enjoy the ice cream? Did you really enjoy how that made you feel? And if it did make you feel fantastic and the benefits of eating the ice cream were way up here, then maybe ice cream is something that should be a part of your diet, or can be a part of your diet. But generally what we're finding is that people are eating foods to settle some sort of craving, or they're eating in place of stress, or to quench emotions, or whatever it may be. And they're just not enjoying the foods they're eating. They're not enjoying their diet. When it comes to making food decisions, when it comes to making dinner, you know, you can feel frustrated, you can feel upset and angry, and it happens all the time. I think 50% of the people that come to see me break down in tears in my office, because all the decisions surrounding food are so overwhelming and they're so hard, because we have to make however many hundreds of food decisions a day. When this really should be something that's easy for people. But if it's something that's not making you feel good, cut it out.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it'd just be so nice if this month we really can get that information out there about what healthy eating is and what a healthy attitude towards food and exercise is as well. So I really appreciate you helping us out today and giving us such great information. And I'm sure everyone else has found some really good value in it too. Thank you.
I hope so. Thank you for having me, and I'm so excited for this month. I'm hoping to post lots of information for people as well, and I'm looking forward to hearing you guys and your experiences as well.